for joining us for another session of Ask the Chapter. I'm Nefeli, and today I'm joined by Stella, the Chapter Manager of the Italy chapter. Nice to have you here, Stella.
Hello, Nefeli. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Shall we start by you giving us a brief description of your career path up to now and what kind of brought you to women in localization, let alone leading the whole Italy chapter?
Yeah, sure. Even though I don't really like talking about myself because I don't think it's that interesting. So I'll try and go maybe more quickly, but maybe unsurprisingly, I have a background in studying languages. I got my Master of Arts in French and Italian in the UK a long time ago. And after that, I worked for a small language service provider in the UK, providing telephone interpreting for the public services, which for me at the time was an amazing insight because we were largely helping the immigrant populations. And so the languages we were dealing with were, let's say, some of the long tail languages, as we call them now. And I worked there as the project manager and also vendor manager. After that, I moved to Italy and changed direction a little bit in that I was focusing more on marketing and sales. I was actually working in an IT company. But I continued with my studies in translation and I got my diploma in translation. So I was working also as a freelance translator and an in-house translator. And then I moved to work in an LSP, which is really the environment that I feel comfortable in, I think. And I was working in marketing, sales, and communication within various LSPs in Italy. That was due to various mergers and acquisitions that were going on at the time. And then 5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to make a change, and I decided to join Translators Without Borders. And I joined as head of the language services team. Translators Without Borders is now called Clear Global. And so my role there, I think my previous experiences have really helped me, but my current role, it's been a real eye-opener working in the nonprofit sector. Everything was completely new to me in the beginning in the humanitarian and development sectors, but it's been a really exciting ride. In terms of women in localization, I obviously followed the women in localization content for a long time before eventually deciding that I should reach out and ask whether, I could be involved in setting up an Italian chapter. And I was connected with a few like-minded individuals who had also reached out. And so it was a few of us in the beginning, myself, Noemi Clark, Daniela D'Amato, and we worked together to bring together other members to form the first leadership team for the Italy chapter. Noemi Clark was our chapter manager at the time. And we were, let's say, we had a little bit of bad luck because we planned our first in-person event for February 2020, which, if you remember, Northern Italy was the eye of the storm for a short while at that time because of the COVID pandemic. And so we needed to cancel our first in-person event, which we were very disappointed about. But it meant that we actually were one of the first chapters to hold a virtual event, I believe, at the time.
Yes, I didn't realize that you were part of the founding team of the Italian chapter. And indeed, this is a story that I often hear because I think these were the either years that there was a big effort to get more chapters stood up, or maybe it was just because people had, really wanted to be able to do something during lockdowns. But it's very often the case that, these were the first few years and people were, on the one hand, it was I think more difficult because people had to be online. On the other hand, it was easier in the sense that you didn't have geographic kind of limitations, right? And it was easier to get people from across the country, for example, to join a specific online meeting. Yeah, but
absolutely. Yeah,
those were the challenges of the time.
They were indeed. They were indeed. And then back in 2022, Noemi decided to stand down as chapter manager. And I agreed to take on the chapter manager position. So we had a transition period while we formed the new leadership team that combined some familiar faces from the previous team, along with a good number of new members who've brought a lot of energy and new ideas to to the chapter.
Okay, I see. And yeah, that's the next big chapter, isn't it? The membership. I mean, where do most of your members, would you say, come from, or what are the backgrounds? What are they looking for? And also in terms of the events that you organize and the initiatives that you take, how do you see these two aligning?
So our members, as you might imagine, they cover a great variety of roles. The majority of our members are in Italy, but we also have quite a lot of international members as well. When it comes to the market, you know, Italy is a fairly traditional country with a very high proportion of small to medium-sized enterprises, right? Smaller businesses. And that means that it's not so common to find, you know, buyer-side localization departments within Italy. But nevertheless, there is a thriving localization industry. There are a lot of LSPs. But that does mean that most of our members tend to fall between the LSP side and freelance translators and other professions as well. In terms of our events, we've tried to take that into consideration when we're organizing our events. And we've held quite a lot of different events up until now. We've been experimenting a little bit with the formats. In terms of topics, we've been looking at artificial intelligence, but really focusing on the human in the loop. And we've also had events where we organized roundtables so that all the participants could take part and share their opinions. And we had roundtables for freelancers, roundtables for LSPs. We also try to focus not only on sector-specific events, but also on soft skills. So we also had an event with a roundtable focusing on personal branding, for example. Another one of our events was focusing on finance management. So really addressing the gender gap that there is when it comes to confidence, when it comes to managing finances.
Yes, absolutely. And I think these are excellent parallel activities and very much part of the you know, kind of like larger aims of women in localization and any kind of women focused association, the whole idea of empowering women in all kinds of ways and that are necessary. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also because we're in Italy, one of the really important things for us is that all our events are in Italian. And we made a conscious decision to do that because we recognize that there are a lot of events out there. And as we were saying before, the fact that virtual events have become so widespread, it means that people do have access to a lot of different events with high quality information. But when it comes to Italy itself and events in Italian, there aren't so many. So that's why we took that decision to hold our events in Italian.
Yes, that's another big decision to be made very often, isn't it? Like going wider to going more specific. I think sometimes it's also the subject when it's very relevant. Sometimes, as you say, like finance or legalities around translators, it makes more sense that it's in the local language.
Yes.
Fantastic. And do you see any opportunities for you to collaborate with other chapters? Is that something that you've ever explored or are thinking of exploring in the future in your region or wider, or you're just kind of focusing more on the needs of the Italian markets?
Well, so far we have been involved in a few initiatives, cross-chapter initiatives. But for us, I think our main focus, because also from when we had the new leadership team, so the new mandate from 2023 to 2024, we're now halfway through that 2-year period. We did set ourselves quite an ambitious goal, which was that to make the chapter truly national. Because during the first mandate, we were the members of the management team, we were very heavily based in the north. And indeed, we were only planning events in Milan to start with. In fact, we did have conversations about whether we should have 2 chapters for Italy. It is quite a big country. So for this 2-year period, we've taken this conscious decision that we want to have a 2-center chapter, so having events both in Milan and Rome, and who knows, maybe also in additional cities this year, we will see. But because of that, we needed to, we very purposefully created new roles focusing on the center and south. So we have an events manager for the center and south, we have a sponsorship manager for the center and south. So that's really been our focus for this 2-year period, but we would love to collaborate with other chapters as well.
Yes, but I think you're definitely, bringing up something that concerns other chapters too, how to geographically kind of cover everyone that is interested. And so do you usually mirror the event, so you would have on the same day an event in both locations, or you just try to kind of share the events between the locations?
So far, we've had completely separate events in Milan and Rome, and we have had people who have attended both. We have had people travel from Milan to Rome and people travel from Rome to Milan as well. And it's really nice to see that people have made such a big effort, taken overnight trains and things to attend our events. So no, we haven't opted for the mirroring. I think we felt that technologically and organizationally it was quite ambitious, and that we were better focusing our efforts on a single event. Also because we try to have as many of the management team present at the event as possible.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. And I guess it's exactly as you say, this way, depending on where people find themselves, they can join one or the other if they're on different dates, and you maximize your reach, I guess. Very interesting.
Yes. And we also want to continue with the virtual events, so that then we can really reach all of Italy and beyond, and carry on having our international guests. Also, because when it comes to speakers, the fact that our events are in Italian means that we need to find Italian speakers. So for the virtual events, we can invite international guests who either are Italian natives or speak Italian. So that's another advantage.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think we've covered most things that I kind of had in mind. Is there anything else that you would like to add to this?
I don't think so. I mean, I was obviously speaking with the members of the management team if there was anything that I should say. I mean, we do like to keep it fun. One of the things is also we try to make sure that our events, the titles of our events, have a fun name. And then the other thing that we felt that was quite interesting was that within our chapter management team, we do have representatives who are freelancers, who work within LSPs, who are buyer side, who work within NGOs. So we do have quite an interesting mix with a lot of potential to address different topics for the members.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's very important, and you see that difference between chapters. I mean, I used to be part of the UK chapter in London, and it's a very different makeup to the one that we have over here in Greece, where it's a bit more, as you say, more freelance based, and so on and so forth. So yeah, absolutely, you need to cater for whatever people are the most interested in every time. Fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So thank you very much for your time, Stella. And we hope to see you soon again.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.